What's up, guys? I've got a pretty interesting video here today regarding some comments made by some extremely interesting individuals who are obviously very intelligent people, far more so than the average person. One of the individuals brought up Bernoulli's principle and how we probably ought to try and leverage that. Both of them actually talked about the fact that I need a divergent type nozzle. What I have here is just basically a wall. And anyone who's seen me build this knows that there's also a big capture ring inside here, an annular ring that protrudes this much further into the burner. So not only do I not have a space for the gases to eject straight out of the burner, there's a capture wall here that I would put in place, meant to be a flame holder, to keep ignition. But it might not be working anyway. So I'm thinking about taking it out and going with a divergent end to capitalize on the Bernoulli's principle. Man, I hope I pronounced that right. Someone just taught me how to do it and I forgot already. But at any rate, what we want to do is cause a restriction at the end of the combustor. And what they have told me this will do is what Bernoulli's principle is all about, is the static pressure in that region of divergence will decrease, but the dynamic pressure will increase, which causes the velocity to go way up. And several things happen that could benefit combustion. One of the individuals mentioned, I believe that was the de Blair, the female, who is possibly a male, mentioned that to get a blue flame on oil combustion, it's all about velocity. The higher the velocity, the more likely you're going to get the blue flame. So I'm going to go ahead and take the advice of these individuals. I'm working on this burner here, and I'm giving it kind of a real fast taper. This might not be the type of taper that fits the discussion we had in mind. This would increase the velocity a little bit at the end there. I'm thinking about just cutting this off right here and then placing it on the end of this and leaving the back open so it acts as a secondary ventura to pull even more air. And I might even put some bent vanes on the back end to give us that swirl. I don't know if that would benefit. Typically burners have the swirl on the inside of a straight jet flow, so that's kind of going against, you know, millions of dollars of research, and I don't know why I would waste my time doing that. But at any rate, I also want to build a burner with this conical end on it. I think what I ought to do first is try and build a burner using this combustor and install a recirculator that I disclosed in another video. And then if that doesn't work, maybe cut this off and put it on the end of this. At any rate, I am going to put a divergent end on this burner and we are going to observe the effects. I don't think I want to do this steep of an angle though. I think I want more of a gradual, actual divergent, convergent nozzle. I think that would be a lot cooler and give us a lot hotter flame, because at this point my goals have turned towards focusing on creating the hottest flame that we can possibly get out of this thing. The reason being is, some of you may know I'm into chemistry quite a bit. In fact, the decoration for my little table here has some equations, chemical kinematics, regarding the Boudert reaction, which is where you basically use carbon or iron to produce hydrogen gas, but you need the fires of hell to get the reaction going. So one of my objectives with this whole waste oil burner process is to heat a small crucible of iron, say maybe just the size of this thing, filled to about here with iron, and then pump steam through that iron. And we all know what will happen. Copious amounts of hydrogen gas will be liberated by cracking the steam and converting the iron into iron oxide, which is basically just rust. I believe a huge amount of hydrogen gas could be released from iron water from this process, but you need a lot of heat. And that would be just an interesting use of waste oil, is to turn it into a usable fuel. I also want to try it with carbon And I've also got a couple of other projects that are going to require me to smelt some metal. So my focuses have changed from just getting a fire to come out of a tube to making the hottest waste oil burner I could possibly come up with. And I'm going to be taking the advice of these individuals and working with some swirl burns and convergent divergent nozzles to capitalize on the Bernoulli's principle of jet flow, or whatever it's called. And that's where we are. I think one of the easiest and quickest experiments I think I ought to try is just cut this thing off about here and slide it over this bad boy to give us a secondary shroud. It would pull air in through that port. Be some pretty hot air, I can tell you that. I'm interested to see what this would do. And I would also want to put some little swirl vanes in the back end of there. So at any rate, that's what we're going to be seeing here in this video. I'm going to be showing some of the fabrication processes, because apparently a lot of guys in Indonesia, and Romania, and Greece are really digging these build videos. You guys are like bored as hell over there or something. I don't know what it is, but that's what we're going to do. I'm going to record some of the building and fabrication processes. Not going to be as interesting as the device working, so what I'll do is leave a card or a link in the description for a video of these devices actually in action. So I think the first thing I want to probably do is try attaching this shroud to that burner and observe the effects of this secondary airflow, because I notice when I turn the oil way up on this thing, it doesn't have enough oxygen. The flame gets lazy and kind of stupid, and I want that blue, white hot flame. We're going to be removing this inline heater. It's a complete waste of time with this burner. Basically a novelty at this point. I'm sure it has a lot of applications in cold weather, but it's totally unnecessary. Very interesting experiment nonetheless, but I'm going to be decommissioning this thing in all of my waste oil projects. You will not be seeing this again in oil burner projects. However, it will be used to preheat water in my steam cleaning tool that I have a couple of videos on. We are going to be turning this pump into a water pump, and this little bad boy is going to be mounted right on the side of that, and it's going to send some preheated water to this cleaning tool that I built, which goes on the end of a blowtorch. You connect the end of the blowtorch right there. In fact, I have the torch. If you haven't seen this little doodad, you definitely want to check it out. And it shoots a very impressive steam jet out of there. I'm trying to do this with one hand. Basically, that's what it is. Very impressive little tool. I was able to clean up an extremely dirty chainsaw before working on it. Definitely wish I would have had it when I restored this lathe. In regards to a conversation me and Delicious to Blair have been having, look what I found on this compressor that has slowly been losing parts. This is one of them old cheapos that I keep needing a part here and there. Stole the transducer, stole the gauge, and now the fan blade. It dawned on me, where could I get a nice pre-made swirler like me and him have been talking about? And what inspired it was have a picture here, that bad boy right there. Be nice to kind of mess around with some designs like that for a while, because that's basically what this is doing. This little elbow, as I said, the reason this elbow works so well is it's inducing a rolling vortex in there, whatever you would call that, an eddy current, and that is sustaining ignition. But I was thinking about possibly setting this swirler on there and then cutting a slit to receive the nozzle and set this thing down on the top of there. Of course, it wouldn't be this long. I'm just showing you my plans so that we could have like a swirler set in position on top of the device. Man, it's so bright in here. I camera's glaring. To give this kind of a swirl so the air kind of swirls down in there. I just thought that'd be interesting. In addition to that, I am going to be turning this shroud itself into a combustor that will have this piece at the back of it like this. Of course, I'm going to have to get it to fit inside of there, which ought to be pretty fun. That's the one downside, is this thing isn't quite big enough to accept the fan blade, the pipe anyway. So I don't know if I'm going to try and cut those down. I'd hate to do that, though it would probably be fairly easy. This feels like, actually that is steel. At any rate, I just thought I'd show you that, because you sent me a picture of that little post hole digger or bulb planter, whatever that thing was. And I think this thing would be a beautiful swirler. There's a little shot of the cross section of that. Might not be enough of an angle, but nonetheless, we're going to see this thing in action one way or the other. Okay, keep it simple, stupid. Let's see what we can do. I'm just going to run some self-tappers in here. I was going to get all fantastic on you. And see if we can adjust like that. We'll do 2. Now, a fellow YouTuber expressed this idea we're seeing of using screws to align the test specimen. So I thank him for that. I believe it's the gentleman with the old-timer looking avatar. I've got so many comments coming in these days, guys, and so many very good comments. You guys have been awesome on the comments, by the way. Some of the best comment strings I've seen in a long time. But I'm having trouble keeping track of y'all. Okay, these screws are horrible. They're just not going to cut it. I'm going to have to cut the tips of them off. Now I need 2 at the bottom. Yeah, they're just a hair too big. So yeah, I'll just lance the tips of these things off and see if that works out for us. Hopefully it will. I'll just go ahead and do the whole darn quadrant. Man, I just stripped that out so bad right there. Dang it. Did it again. Tell you what, that thing's kind of riding good right there. It's a little hairy there for some reason. Okay, so the screws need chopped in half or something. What are you working with? Let's try this out. Hot tamale. Okay, that's beautiful right there. But I'm not going to bore you with the monotony. You see where I'm going with this. Okay, I'm thinking about drilling some recirculator jets. If I drill 4 holes in a quadrant, place this shroud over here at the neck, we should get a scenario where the gases are flowing, but there should be an eddy current right here, which should give us some kind of recirculation flame for flame stability. I don't know that we would want it right there though. I've only got about 2 inches from my nozzle end. I'm reluctant to put the holes there. It would be interesting to see. We already have 3 holes in the liner. 1 here, 1 diametrically opposite, and 1 just below the diametrically opposed. So I don't know. I'm thinking I need to do it. I should put some circulator vents, 4 of them. Go big or go home with this bit, which is a 21/64. Wow, the decisions. Yeah, I'm thinking we need to go about right here with 4 holes. The battery's good. Let's give that a shot. I don't have a... Yeah, I do. See, I'm trying to think where would be the best spot to put them. Huh. I would imagine at least up here where the air is traveling in a good direction, starting to go straight. We're going to put them about 1.5 inches from the elbow. I'll give you an exact measurement here in a second. Not much of a bit there. Let's see. Lost my ruler here, haven't I? Kidding me, man. Okay. About 4.5 millimeters or so up from the bottom. Yeah, about 1.75 inches. We'll go with that. We're going to do these diametrically opposed. Got some rock wool there. This might be way too much. This is going to be interesting nonetheless. Ow, idiot. Don't try that at home. Just waiting for a drill bit in the chest. Okay. Not going to use any oil on this. Well, what the heck. Might as well. I hate not having a little bit of oil on my bit. Okay. Port number 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to be trying several configurations with this burner. We're also going to be adding some secondary air and a swirling pattern at a tangent. I'm going to put a tangent intake at the back end of this, but not until some later on in the test phase there. So I don't know if that's enough, but that's my circulator vents that will hopefully aid in flame stabilization. The idea is that the jets will roll out and then roll back into the combustor in a swirling pattern. I've seen this in some older designs, some old waste oil burners from back in the 50s. It had a similar setup to this. We are looks like about 5.5 centimeters. Well, a little bit over 5.5 centimeters. And I'm going to line this up in a perfectly concentric alignment. And we're going to weld this bad boy on here. Thinking I'm just going to tack weld it. I don't want to do nothing super extreme. It might be nice to have a little bit of an air vent right there. I kind of want to have some air vent there. I have a feeling that if we left it like this, it might act as a secondary pump. Maybe I shouldn't weld it at all. I'm not going to weld it at all. I'm going to take screws and hold it in place with screws. Let's do that. That way we can test the breathe configuration quickly, probably during the burn. If I want to be able to slide this like this, that would also give us the option of plugging these back up in the event we didn't like the effects it gave us. Now I regret doing that. We should have tried the test without the secondary burners first. At any rate, that's what we're doing. Good. That can't be slid though. Man, that's eyeballs though. Don't like it. That is hideous on the back. Good thing I did that. I don't like sitting. I don't know. Glare is killing, isn't it? It doesn't look it, but it is somewhat concentric. I have to go up a little bit more in the back there. Fairly good. And I've left it where we can slide it. Hopefully in the middle of the test. A little tighter than I thought. I've got a lot of melted rock wool that air gap should draw secondary air in. I'm going to try and put some vanes in there at an angle, about 30 of them, to give us a swirl also. I don't know if that would benefit or not. We're going to try it with and without. I'm going to try it first without the swirl vanes, obviously. The first test is going to be with the device completely closed like this. I need to just rub all that glass off the tube. It's really making things a pain in the neck. So that's where we are. It's coming along. Get a little bit of a breathe vent there. We will be toggling this in the experiment to observe the difference. Unfortunately, my face is a little poorly machined there, and well, we end up with a little bit of a gap in the bottom yet, which I don't like. I want to try this thing with absolutely no intake air, and that's just not going to work out. So spinning it doesn't appear to correct it. It's just the pipe itself is ground down. So I have to work around that, but maybe I'll stuff some rock wool or something in the way, clog it up in the beginning. About ready to hook the nozzle up, and we are going to see what this bad boy can do. Okay, where are we at? Okay. We are hooked up, ready to roll.